The final focus on the data analysis framework delves even deeper into teaching and learning, asking, can we evaluate teacher, program, and instructional strategies' effectiveness? Breaking this down, we can ask, first, what changes would we expect to see based on interventions you have initiated? Second, using longitudinal analysis, can we point to a specific change in program or instructional strategies that have been successful or unsuccessful? And third, can we determine which teachers seem stronger or weaker in certain areas over time? To answer these questions, I'm going to show you some interesting data from the password-protected area of QuickLooks. I encourage you to follow up with your school or district administrator to enable you to view these data, which show performance by individual teacher, with your colleagues. For the purposes of completing this lesson, you will employ the data analysis skills you have been practicing in the previous 4 lessons to apply a sort of summative approach to answering these questions about teacher, program, and instructional strategy effectiveness. In the following slides, we're going to look at bubble charts that show student performance by teacher. For the purposes of this training, we will not be showing actual teacher names, although you are encouraged to consult your administrator for access to these data to view your scores, possibly even in conjunction with your colleagues. You'll notice in this first bubble chart that we are viewing growth along the x-axis and scale scores along the y-axis. Each bubble represents the students in one teacher's class. Notice that there are 3 bubbles at the top whose scale scores are off the charts. However, these teachers are not the leaders in growth. When analyzing your own data and responding to this 5th and final focus question, you'll want to consider such observations in light of any changes you know to have taken place, and consider how these changes may or may not be responsible for changes you see in scale scores and/or growth. In this chart, I want to point out the dark blue bubble on the left side of the chart and the teal bubble on the right. You'll notice that not only do scores in the teal bubble represent higher scale scores, but they also reflect much greater growth, 64% compared to the 36% of the dark blue bubble. These data become increasingly interesting when I inform you that these 2 bubbles actually represent the same students in the same class with the same teacher. The difference lies in the fact that the dark blue bubble on the left represents the students' literature scores, whereas the teal bubble represents their math scores. Findings like these suggest we need to evaluate the differences in teaching and learning that account for these differences in scores. Now open Handout 11.1 as well as the QuickLooks website in a new browser window. You may also find it helpful to reference Handout 5.1 for reminders of how to navigate the QuickLooks site. Follow the directions provided in Handout 11.1, choosing your district and a course that is relevant to your work. The first 2 pages of Handout 11.1 contain instructions for how to import an image from the QuickLooks website and examples of how to make corresponding data statements and summaries, information which you will use to complete Handout 11.1. Query data for different grade levels and subject areas available in the drop-down menu so that you will have sufficient data from which to draw conclusions about teaching and learning. As you look at the charts for your district, look for areas for improvement, areas you are doing well, and anything that is unexpected. Think about additional data that might be necessary to determine possible causes for any unexpected changes. Now, pause this presentation to complete Handout 11.1. When you are finished, save and print your work and return to this presentation window, where you will be guided to the Course 1 conclusion. Congratulations, you have now completed Lesson 11. You are ready to conclude Course 1 by revisiting the course goals and success criteria.